We got the sounds from the pit, straight out the box, baby. That's it, the sounds from the pit, making that berg noise. Go get it, the sounds from the pit, straight out the box, baby. That's it, the sounds from the pit, no covers, Loren. We got the sounds from the pit, straight out the box, baby. That's it, the sounds.
What's up, party people? Welcome to Sounds from the Pit. It's your boy, D Folk, the maestro, the minister of music. I'm here with my little brother.
Yo, what's up, Pittsburgh? You already know who it is, man. Dennis Garner Jr., a.k.a. Young D, a.k.a. Pocket Protector. And we here live. Let's go.
Let's go. We got a special guest here today. One of the baddest drummers, not only in Pittsburgh, but in the country. He's played with all kind of people. We'll get into it. Come on, let's welcome James Johnson.
Yeah.
Hey.
What's up, Jay?
What's going on, fellas?
Any nicknames? We was giving all the AKAs and the also known as.
James. No nicknames, no stage names.
Right. James is, I'm sure some of you guys are tuning in, is well known in the city of Pittsburgh. So we'll get into it. We'll talk a little bit about James' music career, where he got started. We know him as a drummer, but many of you don't know that he plays multiple instruments. So let's get in it. Let's start with, where did you start getting involved with music?
Yeah. Let me first say that I do not really play multiple instruments. That is not true.
I thought on the one track you said you played
I
the
play some
keyboard
key
bass
bass,
line,
but
man.
that's about it. Man.
That joint was hot though, dog.
No, yeah, so my musical journey, I grew up in a house full of music. You know, my dad plays piano, and my mother sings, and there was constant choir rehearsals at the house. I remember a lot of that, a lot of just band rehearsals.
Okay.
And I'm just running around the house, and I'm just taking it in, really. So that's kind of like how it was younger. I was just soaking it in as a kid.
Rhythm,
You know.
drums. Why did you pick drums for percussion?
I don't even know if I picked it.
Okay.
I mean, there's stories that my mom and dad said I was just pulling out pots and pans at 3.
Pots and pans.
Pots and pans.
Pots
you know
and
the stories
pans.
of pots and pans and trash cans. So that type of thing, and pillows, whatever.
Is that the same kind of?
Pots and
Pots and
pans.
pans.
There's a person right now, a good friend of my family, literally, he calls me Pots and Pans because he knows the story.
Yeah.
Same thing. Mom, every night, mom somehow
Yeah.
situating in the kitchen, whether it's to cook, to clean, to reorganize, and she's playing records, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Or playing 8 tracks. And then when I hear the music start, Mom, where's the spoons? Where's the pots and
Word.
pans?
Yeah.
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 Tell
That
me,
was it.
tell the people your first major, or what you would consider major gig, performance, show.
Man, I don't really know, man. Like,
You have to, man. That's major. It can be as early as 5 or
maybe I was 13 and for me it was major. I played the Shady Side Arts Festival there.
Nice.
Oh,
Which
that-
one? Because there's Ellsworth and Bryant Street. Which one?
Not Ellsworth.
Bryant Street, the one
Yeah.
close to the reservoir.
Oh, no, on Walnut Street.
oh, Shady
Off of
Side.
Walnut, Shady Side.
Oh, Shady Side.
Shady Side.
Did-
Did I say 5? Yeah, Shady
Yeah,
Side.
Shady Side.
Yeah, Shady Side.
So in
yeah.
Walnut, at 13,
13. That was my.
who were some of the people who played with you?
That was my first time I played with Howie.
Okay. Probably
First
Howie
major gig.
Alexander.
Alexander.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Thompson. I think that was our first gig. Paul Thompson. And Hill Jordan. Rest in peace, Hill Jordan. Robbie Edwards.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was our group.
Nice.
Your group.
That was our group,
So the
yeah.
group had a name.
Kehonia Concept.
Kehon. Oh, so that's where Kehonia came from.
Kehonia Concept.
From
Well, I think
from
A. Lee gave us. I don't know if it was A. Lee. Kind of hooked us up with that name, but yeah, that was the name of our group. I was 13. You know.
So what's the origin of that name? Is it African?
I think it. Oh.
Okay, I had the name. You know.
Diamond. I can't remember.
Okay,
I can't remember.
but that's 13. So right.
I can't remember.
And you guys are still tight and still pretty much gigging.
I still play with Howie every once in a while. Not as much as I'd like to, but you know we're all playing different bands. But
Okay.
yeah, Howie. I don't play with Robbie. Well, Robbie's not here, and you know we lost Hill Jordan,
right.
and then Paul. Of course, I play with Paul.
Yeah.
All the time. So
Yeah. Yeah. So in your journey, I know, tell the people, I know of the many local artists that you play with, but there are some national artists that I understand that you've been on the bandstand with.
My first major gig, 1999, is when was with Ahmad Jamal. That was my first major gig.
Nice.
Right out of high school. Thanks to Nelson Harrison. Let me give a shout out.
Nelson.
Correct, because Nelson Harrison is the reason why I got that gig. So, but yeah, it was that was my first major gig, and it was like I was right at high school, you know. So I was like, I went from like high school to one of like the Slammers gigs, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I was little, you know. I didn't know much, you know. I still don't, but you know, the experience was great. The travel was great. I got to see all kind of parts of the world because of Ahmad, you know.
The money was great.
The money was great. I wasn't going to say it. Yeah, the money.
The bag was great,
The money
bruh.
was great.
Yeah.
And the experience, you know, of course, playing with Ahmad.
Mm-hmm,
So
Were you a
What's-
Kappa kid? I'm sorry, D.
No,
Were
what's
you a Kappa kid, right?
I went to Kappa, yeah.
what's
had to get my
one
Kappa
thing?
in,
No,
dog.
listen. I understand. We
I had
got
to get my
Cap.
Kappa in, bro.
We got Kappa. What is it? Kappa unicorns. We got Kappa
No hate,
unicorns
bro. No hate.
amongst
Give me
the
some,
Shinleys
baby.
amongst the Shinley
Kappa,
Spartan.
baby.
We got
Homewood Kappa. though.
Homewood.
the real
That
Kappa.
means a little bit more. That means a little bit more.
Bro.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Had, you know, yeah.
So with Ahmad Jamal, what would you say? What was the two questions here? What was the biggest lesson that you learned at that age that he taught you by word? Like he spoke this lesson to you, and then what was the lesson that you learned through his actions?
The sage.
Yeah.
You got to
Okay.
be ready that.
I guess I learned to. I don't know if this is gonna. I learned to like control my emotions, because I guess with Ahmad, his music, he kind of directs everything with his hand. If you want something loud, soft, he has signals 4, 2. You know, you kind of got to go with it. You know, and you know, there's a lot of groups where you just play. You know, there's not really much conversation, not talk. We just, you know what it is, but. And that was Ahmad's thing. He would give direction. So sometimes when I was feeling something else, no, he wants, you know. So it was like, ooh, you know what I'm saying. So there was a lot of like, but it was good because it I'm not sure what it taught me, you know, but that's something that I had to like get used to, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be some discipline in that.
That's controlling your emotions.
I
Yeah,
guess
yeah.
so.
To be able to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially as a musician, as a creative, I would imagine, like, especially being on that kind of platform. And now I'm like, my friends, you know, have heard me express my creative side, but now the world gets to hear my creative side and hear my gifting. But then you have this legend of an artist, you know, Ahmad Jamal, like harnessing it, like, not yet, or not there, right? So yeah, I think that's emotionally it does begin to create some restraint and some discipline
Yes,
to that
discipline.
side. Yeah.
And I learned a lot about dynamics. That's Ahmad's thing.
Ah.
And space. Space is part of the
Space.
music. It's something that we all can learn still, you know, professional, you know, and dynamics. That was like a big thing with Ahmad.
That's a great transition because the Sounds of the Pit is the exploration of artists, born and raised in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And in my last 5 years, I've been really researching, like, oh, you guys, just all these great singers, and then learning a lot of history. And then at 54 or 55, learning about the Opera House and all the greats that not just passed through, but set up residence here for short periods of time, and they're gone. So even with, people say that Pittsburgh is a large town masquerading as a major city. I get that. But then the exploration was, I go to New York. Hey, where you from? Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's the main. If I'm in conversation with a baby boomer, they know about Crawford Grill and some of the greats, and Georgie and Ahmad, or some of the greats that's come through Strayhorn. And they can speak a little bit on it. So I'm always wondering, and playing with Dennis as young guy, older guy being with the young guys, I would often peek in on their conversations and some of the rehearsals, and I'll hear East Coast, West Coast, New York swing, So I was like, well, where's the Pittsburgh swing at? You know what I mean? Or if I'm listening to, especially hip hop in the 90s, I'm a 90s hip hop head, especially the New York sound, right? Or the Bronx, even within New York, Harlem, Bronx, they all had some distinct sound, and they would also claim or talk about 125th, or in their music they would rep where they're from, even within the area of New York. DC, what do you think? Coco, right? New Orleans, West Coast, same thing, right? Breaks down into different pockets. So I'm like talking to, and as I'm listening, okay, to local artists, I'll say, oh, okay, learn from this guy and Jerome Kirkland, who will be on the show as well. East Coast, oh, that's a New York sound. Or I'm hearing sounds that mimic the popular music that we're. So the question that we'll start and that we want to wrestle with, and we'll get into, does Pittsburgh have a distinct sound? If so, what is it? Can you define it? If not, why not?
Ooh, I'm going to leave that question for you first, Dennis.
You're being interviewed. He's going to get into it.
bro.
And by the way, we'll talk about, and one of the other things we're doing is interviewing people who've created their own music. And we'll highlight some of the projects that you've done, you and your wife has done. But back to the question.
Yeah.
And it could be a yes or no, and we can just dive into it.
Yeah, I don't even know how to answer if there's a Pittsburgh sound. There's good musicians. There's some okay musicians. I don't really know how to answer that. I don't. But maybe I need to bounce it off of.
So let's talk about your sound. How would you? So Dennis had opened up. I think he had mentioned something about one of the great jazz. So if I was to go look, we don't have record stores anywhere. I can go to iTunes, just put your name up. But let's date ourselves.
Yeah.
Let me date myself. If I was to go into Dorsey's, let me give Dorsey's a shout out, or any record store. They're in categories. Where would I find your music?
Jazz?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll say jazz.
Okay. And
Yeah.
I can even pick out, because I'm a fan, and I'm not saying that because I have you on. I am. You know that.
Sir.
I can pick out some distinct characteristics of your sound.
Okay, I'm interested to hear this.
Okay.
Yeah,
And-
I'm interested too. Cause
and the question becomes, then maybe you can answer this. Is there something that you do rhythmically or in your composition that is totally germane to you? Or did you borrow that from somewhere?
Yeah.
And it can be both.
I think it's a combination of everything. Like, I mean, I think the music that I did then, the projects, it's a combination of everything I've been a part of since I was a kid. Whatever music journey I've gone on from when I started playing to that point of the time when I did that year. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But obviously things can change, and they evolve.
Right.
I feel like I'm figuring out, still trying to evolve from.
But on all these things, with my eyes closed, if I hear it, there's still some essence of that sounds like James Johnson. So even in your evolution of music, there are certain sounds or energy or synergies that I feel that feels like James.
Huh.
And you can't define that for me, yo?
No.
So let me say this about so I concur. However, being I didn't register for university. I just kind of snuck in the classes and snuck in. So being a student of your playing and your approach to music, there are a few things that I feel that you do in our community of influence that, for me, stand out about your playing. And I think I've told you a few of these things before. So one thing that you do very, very well is you space out your statements.
Okay.
And you talked about how Ahmad Jamal was a platform where you learned how to implement space into your music. So there are times when I hear you drumming and I can expect that when it's time for you to go beyond just holding a groove and make a statement, or if you're soloing, you apply great space where I rarely get the impression that you're trying to start here and take flight. I never get the impression that you're trying, like you start here and you just stay there. You have a way of like playing, and no one knows like when you're going to kind of like make a statement in your solo. You know what I mean? Like it just comes out of nowhere, and then when you have the ability to be like, yo, well, add on to that, like. You know what I mean? Like when you're soloing, you're like, yo, you could layer that. You could do something with that. And I'm thinking from a drummer's ear, like, man, he's about to do something to like layer that or to complement that. And it's like, okay. And then it leaves me wondering why. And then you answer the why, because then you create something else. Like you may not even were really thinking to layer, you're thinking statements. And then the other thing that you do that I can identify that you do more than any, and I think I'm really, I think I do this, I think about this every time I do it, so much so that, and it's going on record, I probably do this to a fault now to where it doesn't even really apply, and it's not good. But I can't help how much that has influenced me because of when you do it, and I'm still studying when you do it and how you do it and where you do this. But I'm just so captivated by how you use cymbals without a kick.
I wasn't expecting that.
You are the king of cymbals with no kick, bro. And growing up in growing up in this church, the church, gospel circuit and the gospel culture, like it's always cymbal with a kick.
Right.
Like you make statements and it's always cymbal, because most times we're ending a phrase or we're hitting the one, and it requires that staple of a kick to then make sure that you're laying the one and laying that kick for that groove in the next phrase, right? The next phrasing or the groove. But having a jazz background, those aren't the rules. And that's not always the identity of the music. So to hear you do that so eloquently in like your jazz, your inspirational, your fusion, it's not just like straight ahead. It's like you do that oftentimes even in your solos. I'm like, yikes. And it's
Well, speak to that.
perfect. Every time it's perfect.
I don't know what. No,
No, you don't
I
do
just-
that.
No, I mean,
people want to hear from you.
because I don't listen to myself back that much.
Really?
No, not really. And if I did, I'm not sure if I would depict it as Dennis said. I can't like.
So
Because you're not listening to yourself to learn. I can pick
Yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah,
myself
sure,
and
sure.
people who are listening to
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
If
yeah,
you're
yeah.
listening to learn,
But you
can
don't-
easily pick up on these things.
But you don't listen to yourself to
Not
be
enough.
different.
Not enough
than
to
the
like
average
have.
drummer?
Not enough to had, like, the thought he had. Like
Okay.
I wouldn't think about like not enough
he's
to
not listening
recognize
to
that.
himself to learn, though. You know what I mean? And I don't think any.
Well, maybe I am sometimes because I do. We always learn because I mean that's true and not true. You're right. Never mind. Go ahead. Say what you said.
No.
Yeah, finish that.
No.
No,
finish-
because I mean, I feel like I listen. I record myself. I listen, and I go, wow. I still need to work on this, and I'm learning. That's the way I'm still learning.
That's
like,
a different
that's
aspect of
different-
learning.
that's
Right. So
that's
yes,
what I meant.
completely. We
Yeah.
all watch the tapes.
Yeah.
We all,
Like,
yeah,
like I'm still.
yeah,
like,
we're all listening to the
yeah.
tapes, but you're not listening to yourself to be like,
Yeah.
ooh, what can I steal from myself? You did it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm listening to you to figure out what I can take from you and conceptually and apply to my drumming. It's already a part of your drumming because you're doing
that's right.
doing it.
Well
you know what I
said.
mean?
Yep. That's right.
Well, just to piggyback off of him, I mean, like, I'm not a drummer. I mean, my first instrument was the drums, taught by Roger Humphreys at Kappa in Homewood.
Another unicorn.
By the legend. He will be on the show as well. Shout out to Mr. Roger Humphreys, Uncle Roger, the legend. I noticed how you hit your snares different than where it's, or what's the correct terminology? The way you strike your snare, or whatever that terminology is. There's a finesse, and even when you go hard, it's so controlled. Just some things I noticed. One thing that Dennis was mentioning in the description of your playing and in your music, is, you know how you can hear, like, he used gospel, even pop. I know where the song is going before it gets there. I can feel where it's getting ready to transition, where the corner, where the B is, where the C might be. You trick us with that stuff.
Oh, okay.
Is that intentional?
You
So
talking
it's
about,
not
like,
it's not
composition?
necessarily,
Composition
your
wise?
songs are not necessarily based off of 145.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
I noticed that.
Uh-huh. That
Speak to that, because this no. And all in all, as we're talking about your music, I'm still connecting it to the Pittsburgh sound, or does Pittsburgh have a sound? I've recognized it. I'm gonna blow you away with this, maybe not. That a sound with everything that you've done, that I can describe. I don't know if I hear the jazz. One time I was talking to the musicians and they were about to beat me up. We were talking about what they call smooth jazz. Don't ever say that. It's instrumental music. It's not jazz. So this whole, because we got to categorize everything.
Yeah.
So when I listen to it, okay, you said jazz, and I know I've heard you play straight ahead and bebop and fusion and all of that. And you mentioned that there's a mixture in all of that here. You know what I hear in this? I hear the jazz influence. I hear the soul. I hear gospel. I hear neo soul. And even with some of the songs that Carolyn, I hear that pop coupled with the neo soul, the R&B, of course, So that's why I said when you would categorize your music, where would I find it? You know, it spreads. And
But isn't
you've
that-
been doing this before. Now, we could say that, and I love Robert Glasper.
Me too.
This has been coming out before I was. I mean, Robert. You know, I'd known him back then, but before he became popular, using a lot of the R&B and the singers and stuff.
Yeah.
You were doing that. Now he might have been doing that, but before I was aware of that genre or what he was doing, I heard you. And so that makes it unique. So when somebody listen to you say, "Oh, it sounds like Robert," like, nah, but yo, James been doing that, yo. That is his mantra. You know what I mean? Only thing I would challenge you on: do you have any music that you dedicate solely to the Berg? Show the people your hat.
Yep.
See, he's even repping the Berg. Is there anything that has nostalgia or that we can connect that you've written that's a Pittsburgh?
No.
Why not?
I don't know because I don't know. I mean, I didn't answer
You
that
born
question
and raised?
earlier. Huh?
Born and raised here, right?
I wasn't born here, but I was raised here.
Okay.
I was born.
At what age?
I mean, I might as well have been born here.
All right,
I can't remember when I was 1 year old.
So what part of Pittsburgh?
When I came first,
Were you born?
oh no, I was born at Shreveport,
Okay. But when you
Louisiana.
moved to Pittsburgh,
Bell
Suver?
I think I was young, man. I think it was Bell Suver.
Oh,
or
we're gonna have to
Lincoln
talk to his dad.
Yeah.
Definitely.
To get
Yeah.
We gotta
Bell
get,
Soup from Bell Suver to where?
But I
that
do
you
know
can
it was
remember.
Point Breeze,
Okay, so that's Point Breeze / Homewood.
and then Lincoln. I was at
And
there.
you wrote no songs about that journey through the hood, bro?
Well, I don't. That's not how I don't write specifically for a subject matter.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm not. Like,
So what inspires you to write?
Sometimes I do that, but for the most part, I'm just singing a melody in my head. It could be anywhere at any time of the day. It just. I'm sorry.
no.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So. I'm not. It's not like this tree, inspired me to write a song. It's never really like that.
Okay.
It's just really, I'm just whatever comes up.
But
And
could
then-
that be because, again, as I stated, that even when artists move from Atlanta to L.A., New York to L.A., they still rep their city. What I've been noticing with Pittsburghers are, other than, I think Wiz reps Pittsburgh. Of course, you can deal with Black and Yellow, but there's some other lyrical content. I'm not a
No, he reps. No,
Right.
Shout out to Wiz.
Shout out to Wiz.
He reps Pittsburgh.
Right.
He reps Pittsburgh.
so my challenge is to us composers is why
write
not?
a song.
New Orleans rep. New Orleans, PJ did a whole album called New Orleans, right? PJ Morton. And with the prowess of that would be my challenge. Why not? I mean, again, maybe that's not your muse.
Yeah.
So here's the question I'm having. And this is for both of you all. Are you then saying that having music that, whether there's lyrics or not, from the composer, from the writer, it's birthed from a place where he can identify the Pittsburgh stain and thumbprint and footprint? Is that where we are going to then place the identity of the Pittsburgh sound?
I think it's not even a start. I think it can be a part of the puzzle.
What do you think?
Repeat that one more time, please.
All right, so Fold is talking about this journey that you've had, being pretty much raised here. You weren't actually born here, but you were raised here all of your life. You know what I mean? And as we go through your catalog, right, of your music, he's not able to identify a song that captures your connection to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Even better.
Well,
Yeah.
okay.
That's even
I mean,
better.
to answer that, I guess, I mean, whatever. This could be this and a combination of these two CDs. I mean, this is basically. I mean, growing up, I was always around my dad's organ,
Okay.
especially at church. Church, I was always on the floor, sitting next to his pedals, and in St. James AME Church.
Sure.
And-
He's
and,
still there, right?
He's still there.
Okay.
Not as often, but he's
Okay.
there, right? So I would hear hymns all the time, and I would hear my dad's version hymns. And my dad's, he loves reharmonizing
Mm-hmm.
every, and that's when I hear my father play hymns. That's when I get tugged the most. You know what I'm saying? When I'm hearing him play anything, like when I hear him play hymns. So that was a learning experience, just learning, how he would weave in and out of melodies and stuff like that. And just listening to, like, I feel like I didn't really focus on just jazz growing up either. I was like exposed to like everything. It wasn't just jazz. It wasn't just art. It was like really a mixture of just everything. And I wasn't like DeBarge. It could be that. It could be Tony Williams. It could be Take Six to Beethoven. I mean, so I feel like all that music that I was exposed to, it's just that. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And the people that I grew up under here listening to, my father used to take me around. And it was always him, Greg Humphreys, Nathan Davis, Dwayne Dolphin, and Cecil Washington. That was the group I would hear a lot growing up. Because that was a group my father played for, so he would take me with him, and I grew up listening. I mean, Greg Humphreys was like my idol, still is my idol.
Right. That was my guy too. That's big brother.
But
Greg.
so
Sorry, man. Shout out Greg Humphreys. I
Shout
miss
out
him.
Greg.
Dog.
What up,
I
G?
miss Greg Humphreys, man.
What
Golly.
up? What up, big bro? Yeah, but so
yeah.
go ahead.
To answer all that, just I don't know how. That's why I'm not saying if I don't Pittsburgh, not Pittsburgh. It's just what comes out of. You know what I'm saying?
But that's yeah. I'm gonna say that's the issue because of the great talent that we have here, and some people I didn't even know that they were from Pittsburgh. I only know Billy Porter because I played with him and we went to Kappa, Dennis, and Homewood.
Wait. Is Billy Porter a Kappa?
Yes,
unicorn?
he is.
I-
Billy Rep Doc.
Wait, somehow, some way, I feel like he was also an Alderdice Dragon. Is that
That's
true?
We went,
Did he graduate a dragon?
Yes, he did.
All right, so
yes, he
you're
did.
a dragon, bro.
Yes, he did.
You're a dragon.
We had dual citizenship, bro. And so, my challenge would be, and what we, this is for me, man, like sounds of Pittsburgh, because you have an identifiable sound, and I want to claim it as a Pittsburgh sound. Not the, but Pittsburgh sound.
that's fine. You're entitled to. But that's cool.
And based on what Dennis described, you're playing with the cymbals and some of the other intricate things that you do in your drumming, but even in your composing, of course, we all borrow from, But what is it like when I hear? I'm dating myself. I'm 55. When I hear a Babyface song, or when New Jack was in Teddy, they had signature, right? You said New Jack, Teddy Riley. Babyface had this sound that he would use, and before the first 4 bars, I said, that's a Babyface song. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm trying to identify sounds.
So here's the deal, right? So I'm hearing both of you,
Yeah.
and I think there's validity to both, right? Why did you know that was a Babyface sound? And where's Babyface from? So, and where do you attribute that?
That's a tough question. I don't even know.
All right, so when Babyface was doing his Thug Fizzle, it was Atlanta.
Okay.
Okay.
And he started out with, what's the group called?
After 7.
No, that was.
No, I mean,
he before anybody even knew him. What was the name of that group? I can't. But there
I thought it
there
was
was
After
just
Seven,
there
right?
was
That
just
was like Ready or Not. No, that was his brother.
that he produced it.
He produced them. Yeah, that was his brother.
There was a group before he became solo that he was in.
Right.
That was before you was a little cat. But
Wait.
he uses these this
But is
DX7
is that
motif.
a particular city sound or is that a Babyface sound?
That's a babyface sound.
All right, see now, and that's why I'm
Question,
glad you
go ahead.
said that because here's my thing, right? Georgie Benson,
Right.
Right? Does Georgie Benson have a sound?
Yes, he does.
Okay, I don't know a Georgie Benson sound. I can identify. I listen to Georgie Benson. I love his music. I cannot identify a linear thread through all of his music, other than him being one of the people who is known for like scatting
Yes.
on top of the parallel melody, right?
And whoever makes that popular don't they claim that?
Now, here's the thing. Georgie Benson, one of his most famous songs that we know had nothing to do with Pittsburgh. It's called Broadway.
Yes, sir.
So
That might be the famous
so it
song.
might be, you know what I mean? So like, but we claim Georgie Benson, and we like Georgie Benson for me doesn't necessarily have, like, he has a riff, which is like that that scatting on top of the melody,
That's
right?
his motif.
That's his riff. I wouldn't call that necessarily his sound. That's just his riff. You know what I mean? Because if the song doesn't have that, and we don't know, like, if the song doesn't have that, we don't know if it's George unless you know his music, right? So
yeah.
my thing is, and as I'm hearing both of you concerning, that's his riff, that's his lick. I identify for you what I feel like some of the things that you do more than any other drummer, and you are, to me, you're a master at it. But for me, what then validates the sound is, does the world hear it?
Yeah. Okay. That's a whole. Yeah.
Like, because if the world can't hear it and then be like, oh, well, where's this guy from? It's
Right.
without you having to necessarily say Pittsburgh, because there's a lot of people yelling Pittsburgh right now who are right here in Pittsburgh. And there's no way the world is going to know that it's the Pittsburgh sound because the world is not hearing them. We know, people only know Phyllis Hyman and her voice like an angel because the world knew Phyllis Hyman. And that became the Phyllis Hyman sound. Ahmad Jamal, you know, very distinct sound. Errol Garner, very distinct left hand. But it's because the world became privy to.
But even those folks, a lot of people didn't know that they were from here. And they're attributing their sound or their prowess to the larger markets.
But here's the thing: people who don't know that, like, Errol Garner is from Pittsburgh, they'll be like, "Oh, that sound because of that strong left hand, that based hand," and they'll call it the Errol sound,
Right.
more than they'll call it the Pittsburgh sound.
And which is great because I think there are only a couple, maybe not, I shouldn't say a couple. There are several cities that have a distinct, like Minneapolis has a sound. It's a whether Prince is the godfather of that those synths and the funk mixed with rock.
Yeah.
You know they have a sound. I mean, they're trying to kill go-go, but you have to connect that with, of course,
That's
DC.
the DMV. That's
New
definitely-
York is broad. However, that was great. Even with the Georgie, the Earl Garners, and the Roger Humphreys and the James Johnsons, my issue is why aren't we claiming that these brothers and sisters, Phyllis, who live down the street from me in the hood in St. Clair Village, are from the Burgh?
We're not supposed to, like, first of all, I don't think we're supposed to claim them. What do you think?
I do.
Why? I mean, no. Why do we need to claim who's ours? Like, that's not their job to be like, I'm claiming Pittsburgh. It's their job. Like, this is James's job, in my opinion, to be like, this is who I am. And then it's his job then, if he desires for it to be so, to then usher this sound to his community of influence and to the world, and then the world for then to claim it either as the James Johnson sound or the Pittsburgh sound. The only way that this then becomes the Pittsburgh sound is if James then becomes
Or, a sound,
either.
or can it be a sound from Pittsburgh?
The only thing that's going to happen is if the people outside of Pittsburgh identify it
Listen,
as Pittsburgh.
Listen, let's go as far as the Jackson 5. When I listen to American Bandstand, they always say all the way from Indiana. They rep, even back then, they will say where they're from and where they get, So we know a lot of our artists that we are our heroes or that we listen to. We know where they're from because they make sure that we know. I don't see that happening with people in Pittsburgh.
I
It's
think you
almost
don't
like
see it, though.
It's almost like a discovery. Like, oh snap! I didn't know he was from Pittsburgh. You know what I mean?
Nah, cats are repping Pitt, and we had this conversation in the first. We had this conversation in the
And the
first
first
interview.
one, I mean, I'm trying to poke the bear a little bit, and
Yeah,
maybe write a song about Point Breeze. I got a song
No,
that's called.
here's
Hate
the
Me.
problem.
No,
James
I mean-
Johnson. Here's the issue. James Johnson is James Johnson, and he has 3 projects out right now that we can see, and we're going to make sure we talk about these too. James Johnson don't do interviews.
Yes,
That's
you
just
see
what I
how
don't.
cool he is and how shy
He
is.
don't do interviews, and we
This is-
need
this is a
need
great
James
thing.
Johnson to do interviews like Sounds from the
this.
Pit, so
Yes.
that he can then let everybody know where he's from. I don't
Yes,
care
sir.
where you born,
I'm
who
from
raised
Pittsburgh,
you.
Pennsylvania.
Thank
yo.
you. There you
baby.
go.
France,
And
huh?
we
Thank
can't
you.
get into it because time is winding up.
yeah.
But Dennis mentioned something. The only way I heard an artist, and we're going to interview him as well. He has this goal of bringing industry to Pittsburgh. Music industry. Of course, without marketing and promotions, your sound will only travel so far.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
So I mean, I'm just passionate about it. This is where the concept come up with Sounds from the Pit. I mean, how excellent you and then this dude. I mean, I've heard some stuff that he's writing that ain't been released yet. That is hot like fire. My idea is
One featuring-
Is he going to rep the Berg though? Because if he don't, I'm gonna be on it.
all day.
They're gonna
Okay,
know you're
dope,
from
my
Pittsburgh
dog.
anyway, right? And if you go play places, you're gonna say you're from Pittsburgh. I mean,
But his band
how? What about?
or the part of the band, which is great. Because I mean 724 is because we had the Formula 412.
What does what would Dennis need to do for to satisfy you that he represents his son? I'm just curious.
That I can claim him as one of ours.
Well, then claim it.
Then claim it.
Yes, but I want the world to know that as well. Just like you, just like your dad, just like Roger Humphreys, just like Dwayne Dolphin. Can I go down the line?
Again, the world knew that they were from Pittsburgh because those who are from Pittsburgh ushered themselves into the world.
So you know why? As we close, that's true. So, but I mean, that's in a global perspective. I'm sorry to bring church up.
No,
You know,
no, no,
What
no.
Trinity
You
always
good.
says:
You good.
charity starts where?
In the home.
At home, and then spreads abroad.
But here's
But
the
a lot
thing.
of times it feels like, I mean, even what's her? No, she didn't. She wasn't born and raised here. But Christina, major
she's not-
pop.
Yes, that's not Pittsburgh.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's be very
but
clear.
Born and raised.
We like no.
No, she wasn't born and raised.
No, she's not. It's the outskirts of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, she is outskirts.
She's
of Pittsburgh.
outskirts of Pittsburgh, born and raised.
What's outskirts?
She's like,
Hour.
yeah, she's like north.
Like Butler or
Yeah,
something
she's
like
like-
that?
yeah, she's-
That's the Berg, baby.
No, I'm not letting that fly.
That's the Berg, baby. But I mean, again, the whole idea is: do we have a sound? Should we have a sound? Maybe based on after this conversation.
James Johnson is not only the son of a composer and a singer by way of his mother and his father, but he's also the son of pillars of our community who went beyond the call of duty, and they opened up the AAMI, the Afro-American Music
right.
Institute,
Yes, sir.
that
No
has
way.
been a long-standing institution and a pillar in the entire Pittsburgh community for music and arts education. Please look up the AAMI, the Afro-American Music Institute here in Pittsburgh, that was founded by his mother and father, Dr. J and
Yes, sir.
Aunt Pam. I call her Aunt Pam,
Yes.
but Pam Johnson.
Yes, Mama
And it's
Pam
located in Homewood,
Yeah.
in Pittsburgh,
In
in Pittsburgh.
right in the heart of the east side of our city.
Yes, sir.
That's all we
Hey.
got, yo. Oh, you got something else?
No,
you
I
wanna
just want to
close the
say thank you for having me, fellas. Love you, Pittsburgh.
And we
I
gonna
love
get
y'all.
a song. Look, I'm challenging him to write a song that's got something
Okay.
attached to the bird.
Man.
One love, y'all.
Peace.
We out.
We got the sounds from the pit, straight out the box, baby. The sounds from